the wool industry died out, and there are only a few sheep left down in this area here. On the Cotswold Farm Park, there are a few Cotswold sheep still there. Anyway, anybody seen a Cotswold lion?
Nifty gadget.
No, well, it's not a carnivore, a roaring carnivore that devours animals.
Recent acquisition, so this is its first real run out.
On the Cotswold ram, if you look at the Cotswold ram face on, its long mane, it very much looks like a sheep, like a lion.
That sounds good, right?
The highest point of the Cotswolds is just over there, Cleve Hill, which is 1,032 feet high. Because it's over 1,000 feet, it can call itself a mountain. And believe you me, it's the highest point going east until you come to the Ural Mountains in, I'll have to wash my mouth out, Russia.
We should have sat on the other side, so they're interesting on this side.
This field over here. When the Gold Cup is on, we actually run special trains hired by a corporate entertainment company, so you don't have to worry about selling seats with all the seats sold. And we run 2 from Cheltenham, and on Friday when the Gold Cup is on, we run an additional one from Broadway. And our job is to feed them with Guinness and water them with champagne all the way to the race course. That proves very lucrative for us, I can tell you.
Every little helps.
But they don't just have races here at Cheltenham. There's a big concert hall there called the Centaur, which is the biggest one between Bournemouth and Birmingham. The likes of Tom Jones and Satan's Court, they've all been in there. Everybody okay?
Yes,
Okay. Any questions? No? Virtually unknown. Then it suddenly started to appear on all the bomb sites that exist. And that's the history of it. You also see teasel bombs on the line side, which are a relic of the old wool industry, because that's what the cottagers would use to tease out the wool prior to it being spun. Between April and the end of September, we don't really do very much. Incidentally, when we bought the railway, they became one of the largest landowners in the country. But it's not just the track, it's all that it's on the side.
How many steam engines do you actually run on here? You know, how many steam engines have you got?
Well, we don't own any.
I see, yeah.
But we've got 4 based here.
Right.
We've got 4 Mark Hall, Great Western, Dinmore Manor, which is Great Western. We've got 4270, which is a heavy freight engine from South Wales, Great Western. And we've also got a Merchant Navy, Southern Railway. The reason we got that is because it was actually restored here at Toddington, and the agreement was that we had to keep it here for the first 10 years of its boiler certificate, as a thank you for us providing all the facilities for them. So the reason we don't own any locomotives is because after 10 years they have to be withdrawn. The issue with a boiler certificate, you can't steam it 1 second after that. So the boiler comes off and a general overhaul, and you can bet your boots that before it comes back onto the track it's nearly £500,000. So that's the reason that we don't own any locomotives. We pay a steaming fee. So every time we use their locomotive, which we try and do on a rota basis, so they'll get a fair bite of the cherry, we pay them a steaming fee, which is probably about £300 or £400 a day. But the joyous thing is that at the end of the 10 years, we're not faced with a big bill.
Yeah. Do you do any special events, you know, like war weekends or?
We did, but we've had to cancel that this year, basically because of the situation in Ukraine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We have a steam festival, which we had earlier on. We've got a diesel festival, which is coming up. And the highlight of that is that we're having 2 Deltics here, which they never transfer on this line. We have a real ale festival. We have a vintage vehicle festival. You know, you name it, we've probably got a festival.
Yeah, they cancelled it on the North York Moors Railway war weekend because of Ukraine.
That's right. Yeah. This, by the way. This used to be the site of the old Bishopsleeve station, and it's now a nursery, and the children go out there and wave to the trains as they go past. Now Bishopsleeve has a population of around 20,000. It's about one of the biggest villages in the country, and the last census in 2011 the population was about 8,000. But the development here has absolutely been astronomical. And there's another 500 houses that are planned to be built here over the next couple of years. You know, why isn't it a town? Well, they can decide if they want to be a village or a town. It's up to the local parish council. They can either say yes, we want to be part of an urban town, or they can say no, we still want to be a rural village.
You know where the biggest village is?
No. Is it? Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Well, I lived in Charlton Kings, which is now part of Cheltenham Borough, and it was an urban district in its own right, but that was a village up until the 1970s. Yeah. 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 No. No, it's nice when they can do that. Yes. Yeah. Well, this village has. Yeah. Well, it's in Tewkesbury Borough, and it's about twice the size of Tewkesbury town itself. Strange, you know. And we're still in Bishopsleeve, both sides of the track.
Could be anywhere in the country, they all look the same.
And Bishopsleeve gets its name from Cleve, which is the name of a hill, and prior to the Reformation this was all in the Diocese of Worcester, because the Diocese of Gloucester was only created after the Reformation, and the dear old Bishop of Worcester had a palace here, so that's where the name Bishopsleeve comes from. And this is where there's another 300 houses going on this site here, and there's another 200 going on further down in the other side of the village. Greenbelt, what's that? Yes.
True. Babies know that they grow up and they all want a house.
Yeah.
What happens?
You're probably wondering why the train doesn't go very fast. Well, because we're a heritage railway, we are limited to a top speed of 25 miles an hour. If we went any faster, you'd miss all the lovely scenery.
Yes, of course.
But on this part of the railway, we're not too bothered with expansion because this is over the clickety-click. They're all 60 feet length of rail. But on the other side, from Toddington up to Broadway, we have continuous weld, and that's where the expansion come into difficulty. Because the air temperature may well be 40 degrees, but the rail temperature could be up to 60 degrees.
Continuous weld is great and easy for laying.
It is, but it has
its
problems.
drawbacks.
Yeah, that's right. And this is Gotherington. We're just coming into Gollington Loop here. This is where we had our very first landslip about 12 years ago, which cost us £1 million to put right. The insurance company paid half of it and we paid the other. And it's what we call a passing loop. We have passing loops at Cheltenham, Gotherington, Toddington and Broadway, because we're a single line and it's where we can pass two trains, and the passing place today will be Winchcombe. We will wait there until a train comes up from Toddington. And do have a look at the station on this side of the line, because it was bought as a private residence before the railway closed.
Thank you.
Otherwise it would have succumbed to British Rail's hammer, the same as all the other stations did on the line. But it epitomises what a station on this line would have looked like in the 50s and early 60s. Now he's a bit of a train buff, because you'll see his garden first of all, and he's got a little station there of his own. He's got a little track, and he's got a signal box, and he's got a guards van there. And he has a little pump trolley on his siding, which he uses every day as part of his keep fit.
Yeah, why not?
See these houses that look
If he's got a pump trolley, does he get access to the
Yeah.
to the line?
Yeah,
Oh.
he's got about 200 yards of track in his garden.
They don't get access to this.
Oh no, he's got no access, no. Well, he could have done, but in the early days there was a bit of friction between him and the early board, and they built the signal box at Gotherington, so he couldn't get access onto the main line.
Ah,
Yeah, there's the loop.
See, this track here is the loop. Wait for the other train going the other way.
But the loop today is at Winchcombe. The way the single line works is that when we left Cheltenham, the driver was issued with a token. It looks a bit like a tennis racket without any strings in, and that gives him permission to travel up to Winchcombe, knowing he's not going to meet another train coming in the opposite direction. So when we get to Winchcombe, he will surrender his token to the signalman, and then the train coming up from Toddington will do likewise, and the signals will be changed. And this is the garden of the man has at Gotherington. And when we have our wartime weekend, which because of events in the Ukraine we've cancelled, the American troops are all billeted here, and there's lots and lots of bell tents with the American troops in.
That's a nice one. Yeah, that's a problem. I was thinking. Bit of blue tack or something.
This is where you get out and walk now.
Yeah, the main platform is on this side of the line, but there's no track. We have a little button bend station on this side. The reason that the train had a juddering stop is that somebody ran up and signalled the train to stop.
Oh.
We only stop here as a request.
Do you want me to move seat?
No, it's alright.
You okay?
You just assume that it's just laid on for us.
And normally the station is a mass of flowers in hanging baskets.
Over there when he was in the street family. I'm always amazed.
Singing
The strips are still there
Yeah.
from the medieval time.
That's how this
Oh yes, yes.
just coming
I'm always amazed it's lasted so long.
Yeah, well, with all the modern methods of farming, they've never been able to have it out.
Yeah.
There's another example a bit further on which I'll show you. Yeah, there's the station building.
Nice.
That's a traditional station building. isn't
That's
it?
what the station on this line would have looked like.
Yeah.
Had it not been bought, it would have been knocked down.
I know.
When you bought it.
Has
It would.
Has it been rebuilt? Or
No,
is that the original?
That's the original station, as
the
it
original
was.
brickwork.
On all the signs, they're all original.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
that, but you know what the brickwork
No,
is original.
no, it's original. Yeah,
It's in good condition then.
very, yes.
New ones, those.
Yeah, they did.
Did you take a picture of the
They didn't know. They
locomotive?
didn't realise the line would close.
Did you take a picture of the local?
Well, wait,
Yes.
actually,
You did.
you-
I forgot to go and have a look. Oh, we're gonna get out.
If you've got an odd million or two in the bank, then you might be interested in buying a property up here. So there's a lot of
very
trees
proper.
here, and they're pear trees.
Thank you.
This is a nice looking machine.
The pear and the apple, now the apple grew in the other part of Gloucestershire where I came from, and it was part of the farm workers' wages. They didn't go home at the end of the day with a pound of apples or a pound of pears. They had a quart of cider or a quart of perry at the beginning of their day, and they would take that into the fields or to the farmyard where they were working, and that would be part of their wages. And the interesting thing is that in those days there was no limit on the alcohol content, so it could be anything up to about 20%. So you could bet your boots that a lot of the farm workers would go home with a sore head and wake up with an even sicker one in the morning.
Was it like farm accident?
The interesting thing is that tradition only died out after the end of the Second World War. But most of the farms here, they still grew their own cider. And it's, you can buy it at the farm gate.
I'll make it happen. Why? It's just the big inside. That's what I mean. Thank you.
You're right.
Yes, I.
Good.
Was there a lot of accidents on the farm because of the breeding?
Oh, yeah, there were, yeah. Of course, health and safety didn't exist in those days.
No.
It's an expressing, isn't it? I would say.
Yes.
On the one hand, it's good things, and on the other hand,
No.
can't we just get out with it?
Yeah. Well, I got a picture of the church I used to go to in Cheltenham. The spire is 150 feet high, and there's a chap standing on the top there like this.
Yeah.
No rope, no helmet, no nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, and now we've got everything out there.
That's right. Yes. The railway. The Great Western Railway. Well, the carriages. These are Mark 1s. They were built by British Rail in the early 50s. They were the first carriages built by British Rail after nationalisation.
I think we've all travelled in this sort of carriage. I can remember travelling. So.
I can.
Yes, definitely.
Let's get to the blind.
Yes,
Oh,
they used to
yeah.
roll down blind.
Well, Wolverhampton was a carriage work.
Probably
But
perished.
there was one at Gloucester Railway Carriage and Wagon Works, and there was the Birmingham one that used to make quite a few of them. But a lot of them, they're all over 60 years old.
Still running.
You know, we maintain them as best we can.
Made them to last those.
We did.
I also remember the carriage where once you were in, no passage.
No.
And then there's the others where you passage in one side and then
That's
on
right.
the other.
Yeah.
You know, when you're on top of those.
Yeah, the old carriage, if you want to go to the toilet, you had to wait until the station.
Yeah. If you were lucky.
Yeah.
Killed the British Rail sandwich.
Put your head out the window.
Bees. Must have some hives.
Yeah, I can see that. Look.
Shortly the lights will be going on, basically because our guard is a spoil sport, because we'll be coming to Greek Tunnel, which is 693 yards long. It's the second longest tunnel on the Heritage Railway, and the railway say they told me to tell all the passengers that we expect every gentleman and lady to be sat in the same seat when the train comes out of the tunnel as they were when it went in. And this is the village of Gretton. This area on this side of the train is known as the Vale of Evesham, which is a large fruit and veg growing area and arable crops. What I say about the land, we own all the land down to there, so you can see it's quite extensive. Yep. There we are. Good old guard, he's put the lights on.
You run all year round like?
No, we run from March until the end of October.
Right.
Basically, it gives us time, for any major maintenance that we've got to do on the railway.
Yeah.
But we don't run on Mondays and we don't run on Fridays.
Right.
So it's just a five-day week.
Yeah.
The reason we do that is that it gives the television and film companies time to come and film on the railway. Father Brown, if you watch that,
Yes.
the railway scene, Kempleford is Winchcombe Station. The Land Girls, the rail sequence is all filmed here. Some of the Doctor Who's were filmed in this tunnel here. It just provides quite a lucrative income for us. And Pam Ayres has just done a series on the Cotswolds, and she did a trip on this railway, which was featured as well. And dear old Portillo, he's done part of his programme on this railway.
Yeah, well, he's been on the go.
But you can imagine in VR days this was a double track, so you could have the Cornishman, which was one of the main passenger trains that ran from Wolverhampton down to Penzance used to come down here, whistling through about 70 miles an hour.
Oh dear.
The Nigel Grizzly on the North York Moors, I was working nearby.
Oh yes.
The distinctive sound of the whistle on it.
Oh yes, they're quite distinctive, aren't they? Yes.
Gorgeous,
Yeah.
yeah.
Got a lovely shot of Tornado at Levisham.
Did you? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Scotsman's been here,
yeah.
but Tornado won't come because it can't be transported by road. And because we've got no rail connection. I mean, we're a line that goes from nowhere to nowhere, and the year up to before COVID started, we carried 155,000 passengers,
Yeah.
which from a line that goes from nowhere to nowhere is not bad.
No. I think North York Moors just got, a few years back, just got permission to actually run their train on the National Rail network to Whitby.
Right.
So it actually now goes from Pickering up to Whitby,
Yeah.
so you know it has got a sort of a place to go if you like. You know?
Right. Well, we could go to Huntington Junction,
Yeah.
4 miles beyond Broadway. But the problem is the line is owned by Sustrans. We don't own it. Nothing's been done for 60 years. 2 of the bridges are in a collapsible state. We'd have to put that right. A lot of big trees on the track bed. It would cost us 19 million to restore the 4 miles, and we'd have to pay for the connection to the main line, and we'd have to maintain it. And as a single line, what would we do with the trains that come off the national network? We would have to reorganise our timetable.
Yeah.
And they don't spend any money. They don't get the train, so we just get the entry fee, and that's all. So I doubt it very much. I think it's 99.9% pretty certain we won't extend northward.
I know they had a few problems like that because the guys who the engine drivers and that, and the guards and everybody had to be trained to go on the main line and that, and the engines had to be brought up to standard to go on the line.
Yes.
Like. One of my former bosses, she owned a steam engine on the North York Moors, and they used to do what you said, used to hire it out to the railway companies, you know, to run on the.
Yeah. 6124, the B1, which I think the people that looked after it got married,
Yeah.
and it came down here. They came with it
Yeah.
for one of our steam
And
festivals.
obviously,
Wow.
Yeah.
Russian blood.
Yeah, we've had Scotsman here. That came from one of the
That did it.
festivals.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's where Allerley's come in handy.
And we've got 2 Deltics coming this weekend for the diesel gala.
Yeah.
But
The new series will be starting next week on the television with Allerley's shifting logos around.
Yeah.
Watched the last one, it was fascinating.
Yeah. We had 92003, which is used to be David Shepherd's Black Prince. That came for the steam gala, and we had quite a crowd of people watching it being loaded onto our track in the car park. It's quite something actually.
Yes.
Yeah, one like that.
What kind of trailer do you need to transport a locomotive?
One with a huge long one with about 20 wheels on it.
Yeah, I would have thought. They must weave.
And rails on it.
Yeah.
So you can run
Well, of
it
course,
off.
yes.
Always do the same.
Allerley's, they specialise in moving locomotives.
There's several companies around the country.
Yeah.
They do it. Here we are at Whitcomb Station. If you have a look at the station building, you'll notice the stone doesn't fit in with the local topography.
No.
The reason is that there was no station here, and we needed one, and we found this at Monmouth Troy.
Oh.
Disused, so we took it down stone by stone and transported it and re-erected it here.
Lovely.
And here's our Dinmore Manor. This is the train we're waiting for to come up from Doddington. So now he can go on to Cheltenham and we can go on to Doddington.
Did you get it, Alan?
Yes.
When we go from Toddington to Broadway at 15:10, will it be that engine?
It feels as though we're moving when
It could well be, but on the way back it will be actually a diesel. because there'll be a diesel attached to the back of the train. The steam train will take it up to Broadway, and then the diesel will bring it back, and the steam train will come up at Toddington. The reason for that is purely operational.
Yeah.
It takes such a long time to get them ready to go to bed.
No, picking the coach up again at Broadway.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I was just wondering if Dinmore Manor would be the one that, on its way back, would be picking it up. But we'll find out.
It could well be. Yeah. Incidentally, Winchcombe was a very important place in early English history. It was a county. In Saxon days, it was Winchcombe-shire. And it was also the capital of the old kingdom of Mercia, which stretched all the way from Bristol right the way across to the Wash. And there's a castle here, not Winchcombe Castle, but Sudeley Castle, that was built by the Earl of Sudeley. And like most castles, it was blown into semi-ruin by people during the Civil War. But it's actually lived in today by Lady Ashcombe, who was a member of the Dent family, and the Dent family are renowned for glove making.
Ah, yes.
Now, the castle was the home of Catherine Parr, Henry VIII's last wife, because she outlived Henry. She lived there, she died there, and she's buried in the castle grounds. She's the only English queen that's buried on a private estate. And if you go into the parish church of St Peter, which is one of the wall churches, there on display are a set of doors that came from the old Winchcombe Abbey. That's all that's left of the abbey. And there's also a tapestry hanging in there that's alleged to be done by Catherine of Aragon, Henry's first wife. How do we know that? Well, it's got her signature on it, not K of Aragon, but in those days they had symbols, and Catherine's symbol was a pomegranate, and it's got pomegranates all the way around the outside. So that's a little bit about Winchcombe. Now, which train is moving, us or them?
Both.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yes, we are. Just
And the river that flows through Winchcombe is called the Isbourne. And the Isbourne has something in common with the River Nile, because they are the only two rivers in the whole of the world that flow north. River Nile flows through Africa into the Mediterranean, and the little River Isbourne winds its way northwards up through Winchcombe into the Midlands. The only two rivers in the world that actually flow north.
Don't think of that, do you?
yeah.
They don't do any work, they just wait at the trains. And the signal box here, that came from Hall Green.
Yeah, the rebuilding there.
Oh, very friendly.
And this is our carriage and wagon works here.
Royal family.
And it's the way carriage works.
I think Acklams have paid them to wave at this.
People must be geared up to wave at this and go by. Quite nice, actually.
Do you have any connection with other railways of the like? Do you correspond between each other?
Oh, we have reciprocal arrangements, you know, for fares and things like that.
Yeah, but I was just thinking, pick each other's friends.
Oh yeah, yeah. Over the coal issue, that's another.
That's right.
Because our engines run on Welsh coal,
Yeah.
Great Western, and the pit we had closed earlier on in the year because it was usually closed in November, but the wash plant broke down and they said, well, for a couple of months it's not worth repairing. There's the River Isbourne just down there.
The river what?
River Isbourne.
Never heard of it.
You probably haven't because it's a local river, but it flows north along with the River Nile. Now this is the point here where the last train ran by British Rail came off the tracks. It's known as Chicken Curve. It was a chicken farm in those days, but now it's a small industrial estate. And the trucks all went down the bank there, and that provided a free supply of coal for the people of Winchcombe. And BR did enough to repair the track, to recover the diesel and the coal trucks, and never ran another train on it.
Was anybody injured?
Nope.
Oh.
No. There's only the driver, and there was no guards van because it was a fitted freight. And here's some of the old pear trees in this field here. They're probably 300, 400, 500 years old.
Yeah, they
They're
look.
huge. They can't be producing still.
And if you look on this side, you'll see a steeple in the distance. Just to the right of it, you probably can't quite make out, looks like a high-rise block of flats. Well, that's Toddington Manor, the home of Damien Hirst, the artist.
Alright, yeah.
It's under restoration. It's been like that for the past 8 years. And when asked how long it will be before it's restored, he said, well, it'll be in my lifetime. So, how long's a piece of string? And Sir Charles Barry, who designed the Houses of Parliament, got his inspiration for the design from Toddington Manor. Because when you see it barefaced without all the polythene, there's a great similarity between the Houses of Parliament and Toddington Manor. In a moment we shall pass under a bridge and there'll be a little station on this side called Hales Abbey. Well, that was built for pilgrims who wish to visit the site of the old Hales Abbey, which is just up there. And unlike Winchcombe, there are arches left above ground of Hales. It wasn't completely destroyed, and there's a museum there. And the abbey was built by Richard, Duke of Cornwall, who was the son of bad King John. It was started in 1246 and dedicated in 1251. And his brother, who was then King Henry III, actually attended the celebration. And incidentally, Henry III is the only king that was never initially crowned in Westminster Abbey. He was crowned in Gloucester Cathedral. Basically, it would have taken such a long time to get the civil insignia up from London to Gloucester, so he went through a ceremony with his wife's bracelet, but he was eventually crowned properly in Westminster Abbey. And on the site of the abbey is a little chapel that actually predates the abbey. And because they were Cistercians, the monks, they liked seclusion. And there was a small village there, so they had it moved a mile down the road here to Dinmore.
Wow. Thank you, Tim. How would you?
And just half a mile from Toddington Station is Stanway House. Any watchers of Father Brown will have probably seen it. It's one of the a lovely Jacobean manor house. And in the ground is a fountain, not working today, but it rises to over 300 feet, and it's the highest naturally fed water geyser in the world. And in the grounds, a little cricket ground, and on it a thatched pavilion that was donated by J.M. Barrie, the writer who had come here along with H.G. Wells to get quiet and solitude for inspiration for their writings. And this is the village of Dinmore. The gentleman mentioned earlier on about the old method of medieval farming of ridge and furrow. Well, if you look here, you not see a better example than that anywhere in the country. That's the old medieval method of farming. They would farm on the ridge, and the furrow was for drainage. And affluent people like you would probably have about 3 or 4 ridges, and somebody like me, a poor peasant, would probably have a little bit at one end. And it's amazing that with all the modern methods of ploughing, they've never been able to get rid of it. And that's maize, that field. And on the left hand side here, this is the locomotive works and the shed, where all the locomotives, the steam that are not working and the diesels are all kept. And there's a little narrow gauge line that runs for about half a mile just down the bottom there, but that's independent from us.
Oh, yes, they work.
Is anything running on it, or is it just a line?
Oh no, they open at weekends.
Yeah.
They've got 3 steam locomotives.
Yeah.
Excuse me, please. Thank you. This is a works.
Yeah, that's simple.
One of the Deltics is here. So you're getting off here, right, at Toddington?
Yeah.
Yes.
My son-in-law is a train driver, and I went on one of those with him when he was going up to Grangemouth to get coal.
Oh yes.
As a trip, obviously not.
Yes.
45, but
Yeah.
I was in with him. It was very interesting.
Right. I don't know what time you've got here, but in the car park, the top end of the car park, you can walk up the side of the shed building and see what's in the yard. And the car park here, this was all sidings at one time because this was the main distribution point for all the soft fruits and vegetables from the Vale of Evesham. Any day you probably have about 3 or 4 trains leaving for various destinations throughout the country. And there's a little track there where we get locomotives in and out of our system. Yeah, I think this coming weekend there's the centenary celebration for the Austin 7, and that's at the Fire Service College at St Morton in Marsh, and there's going to be over 1,000 of them there. Yeah, they'll all be making their way up to Morton.